Hey guys, this is Jack from Historical Archery, and today I have the heaviest bow in the world of 2022. This bow is 290 pounds at 26 inches, so almost 300 pounds, made by archerybowman. And you might be wondering, why do I have such a heavy bow? So first of all, I think this video is a little clickbait because crossbow bows are way heavier than 300 pounds. You can easily get above 1,000 pounds. But I'm sure most of you say, well, that's not really a bow, that's a crossbow bow. So for a bow, well, here you go. We got something in the 300 pound range. I really don't know a bow heavier than this that's measured. So you might be wondering, why do I have a 300 pound quarterstaff, a stick? Well, I'm actually making a crossbow with this. I have no intentions to pull this with my arms. I cannot pull a 300 pound bow with my arms. This is a crossbow. I'm going to be pulling it with my legs. I'm making a Song Dynasty Chinese crossbow. According to our research, around that time they used wood bows of around this dimension, about 6 feet long, about 300 pounds. This thing measured is about 290 pounds at 26, so at 23 inches it would be roughly 260 pounds. So at that kind of criteria, this is actually a very good representation in terms of the specs of the crossbow. And then the trigger of the Song Dynasty crossbow uses very similar to the Tang Dynasty and Han Dynasty triggers, which is the 3-piece claw triggers made of bronze. So we'll be making everything out of that, and the stock as well. The one thing that's interesting is it uses European looking stirrups. I'm not sure what came first, but it's interesting that they had stirrups in China around that time period. And then the lashings, we're not too sure how the bow is secured onto the stock. There's not enough information, and the drawings are very ambiguous. So it's difficult to say how they lashed it, but we're going to lash it the same way the Europeans lashed it, with hemp, because it's a very intuitive way of just tying it, and it's one of the safer ways instead of just cutting a hole inside the wood, because if you cut a hole inside the stock, there's a very thin portion of the wood that it can be weak. But if you use lashings, the lashings will absorb the bow, absorb the force. So that worst case scenario, the lashing will get loose and all the force is forward, so the lashings is absorbing it instead of the wood. So worst case scenario, lashings get loose, but you don't have a broken stock. If you cut a slot inside and then you stick it in, and now you put the bow and make a crossbow, if that stock breaks, then the wood is broken, and you can't just glue it back together, especially for something this heavy. For a 50-pound crossbow, yeah, you can probably glue it back, but not this weight. So I think intuitively it makes sense that they would lash it. And during the Han Dynasty, they were lashed as well. So it makes sense that they would lash it during the Song Dynasty. Stirrup-wise, it's very similar to the European ones. It looks quite similar. And we're gonna just use a metal stirrup because looking at the dimensions, it does seem like a metal one. And if it's a rope stirrup, it would probably flop around. And considering the artwork, you see cavalry crossbowmen holding the crossbow and the stirrup is sticking out. It looks like a metal stirrup, because if it was a rope stirrup, then the rope would flobber around and it wouldn't be the same shape all the time, unless it's a very stiff rope. But it could be a rope stirrup, we don't know for sure. But besides that, the trigger, so it's basically a very big European, it's a very big Dark Age European crossbow, but with the Chinese style trigger and with a grip, and probably has a trigger guard. We don't have evidence of the trigger guard, but it's logical to have a trigger guard. So we're gonna make that and see how it goes. But again, that's the reason why I have this stick that's almost 300 pounds. I have no intention of using this like a warbow, but after I finish the project, I can sell it to someone who probably wants to use it as a warbow. Who knows? I don't know what they want to use it for. This is a great spear. Now for the nocks, there's actually no horn nocks on it. We purposely did that because we don't want it to make it look like an English warble. We might put horn tip overlays, but we know we don't have evidence of them the same way that like an English horn knock is made. We don't have that evidence, but right now there's no horn, but we do have evidence of them using horn tip overlay looking things, or just horn reinforcement at the tips. It's quite vague how they do it, but they do have historical text mentioning the horn tips. So we will reinforce the tips, because right now it's just bamboo. And there's 2 slots, one for string, one for the actual bow. And I think it's a very intuitive thing, because how else would you string this thing? It's a very intuitive thing, so I'm sure they would have been done in Asia as well. So this bow is Ipe, a giant piece of Ipe with bamboo. That's it. Ipe backed with bamboo. And of course Ipe is from South America, but they did have similar woods in China. They had like rosewood, some darker woods that are quite similar looking, but they probably would have used mulberry, self-mulberry or mulberry backed with bamboo, or multiple layers of mulberry. And we have evidence in the Han Dynasty of them doing that with laminations. They would laminate multiple planks of wood, and then they would bundle it, but of course also using glue, but they would bundle it along and get it a pretty solid piece of wood, similar to how the Japanese bows are made, where you laminate different strips of wood. So it'll be an exciting project, and yeah, hopefully we'll make sure things are safe. And so the crossbow stock is going to be made by the modern armbruster. You might have seen his videos. He makes really good crossbows, and the stock, he will be the one making it, and also polishing the trigger and making sure the trigger fits. The trigger is from Taobao, which is from China, by a machinist from China, and I'll be the one assembling it and shooting it. So I'll be the one shooting it in the end. 300 pounds, I think I can span that, because I almost weigh 300 pounds. I'm in the 200 pound something range, so I think I can span 300 pounds because of my body weight. So yeah, we'll check out how this thing goes, and hope you guys enjoy the video.